Welcome back, everybody. We are about ready to get into Agent Select for our first match at Face-Off. Ooh, it's going to get real spicy, really interesting. The group stage, again, I think a lot of people were kind of curious to see what our overall standings were going to reflect. Disguised getting better, but M80 has been one of our strongest teams overall. So as we approach in towards Haven, we heard plenty of breakdown from the desk dust, but just want to get your quick thoughts here as we head on into Agent Select.
Well, obviously, history doesn't bode well, right? If we just get into that, I mean, obviously 5 total rounds from Disguise against M80 last time they met, so they can really only go up from there, you would think. And I do think Disguise is a better team than what we saw that initial matchup. Like, truly, just from the eye test, I think that obviously they were dealing with roster, swapping and role changing because of that roster swap, and that's a lot to deal with in a short amount of time when these, weeks are so tightly packed together to try to make that adjustment, especially the initiator role, as Roy was kind of mentioning. It's the glue of the team. I mean, there's so much play facilitating and communication to create plays going on through that role that it can really kind of scramble things, especially when you're playing against an M80 team who has a guy like Koala Noob who's fearless in your face, and you're dealing with that as well as trying to adjust everything. And here's my other thing I'll say before we get into Agent Select is Haven's a scary map to start off with because this is the map that M80's undefeated on. They had an OT win against TSM, and then they dominated OR Esports and Disguised. Meanwhile, while Disguised did well on this map, during the qualification process, they've lost their last 3 games in a row. Their losses to TSM and OR Esports were closer than them getting when they got blown out by M80, but they still don't have a track record of success that makes you confident.
Yeah, that's a really solid point. I think for me, looking at this Disguise team in what is surely going to be labeled as an underdog story here against an M80 team, is that here are some positives. Typically speaking, there are some eco numbers that do favor them. Like Disguised, when they get into an eco advantage, have been one of the best teams throughout the entirety of NAVCL in groups, which is great news. If they can start off hot, they can definitely put up a fight. And then more importantly so, after the role swap, we have to remember that TSM match was really tight. All 3 maps were tremendously close. And I think both you and I, when we were getting done with that matchup, we were watching it casting over it. We kind of sat there and said, Disguised are so close to being at the same team level that TSM had. Yes, they were surviving through some heroics individually, but if they could just clean up a couple of things, they would be in a really solid position to major contenders. So you see what is the intended possible predictions as far as what we're expecting for both these 2 teams. For M80 map, as you mentioned, a long line of success, and a lot of it does come out of the breach. So assume that nothing is going to be different there. And yeah, that's indeed the case as Nismo locks in the breach.
Yeah, then on the Disguise side of things, they've been kind of rotating between playing Omen or Astra, but their last 2 games they have been on the Astra, so they decided to stick with that. They obviously do play that double initiator of Breach and Sova, so you get that. Over on the opposing side, it's the exact same thing. I mean, M80 is running the same comp that they've run every single week so far of Challengers, and why not? If it's not broke, no need to fix it. So kind of a mirror matchup in that way, as Killjoy has certainly come back into the fold. It's really just a difference of controller. And as Stronglegs was kind of, alluding to, and something that we definitely recognize ourselves, a difference in play styles. M80 is a much more explosive team. It kind of goes with the brand, actually, when you think about, what an M80 is. They definitely can be very explosive. But I would say it's calculated explosiveness, Sometimes it is intuition plays from Koala Noob, but other times it's really well-designed set pieces that use initiation utility to put Koala Noob into good position. So let's see how they want to roll this pistol.
And you got to remember that in that TSM matchup, Disguised were unbelievable in their pistols. How big could that possibly play out for them here? And again, what would surely be an underdog matchup. M80 on the offense, quickly get Nismo and Orb, and then it's all just kind of hold and wait in the typical M80 kind of fashion. Try to see what utility we can bait out as they start to slowly walk their way through C-Long.
Yeah, M80 actually ranks number 3 in pistol rounds at 67% win rate. So definitely a team that's very dangerous in these early half situations. As again, they're just trying to play contact. Alarm bot is going to give it up. So it's going to cause a little bit of a rotation here from Riku, the new 5th to the team, taking up the Sentinel role from Zip as Zip moves to initiators. Site will just be given for free, essentially, and it's going to be a retake set up here for Disguise. But again, they're a very methodical team in how they organize these retakes, so don't count them out.
Great shock dart comes right over the top, actually chunks out a good amount of health. Now the retake is on the way. Opening trades lead out as it will be M80 with the numbers. Nice shots from Xander in the corner, able to take down 2. And then how about the headshot? Puts Clear down to essentially 1 shot worth of health. 1v3 Ghost in hand, and well, John will finish him off before he could do too much else. So Disguise do not take the pistol, but boy, they did put a lot of damage in.
Indeed, they did, but it's just kind of illustrating how well-rounded this M80 team is. I mean, obviously, Qualanu bleeps off the page, leading in almost every category you could feasibly think of, but EU's in the top 10 in most critical, like, fragging and damage categories, and Nismo is right there behind EU, and then you got someone like Xander, who is still incredibly skilled in that controller role, so these really are one of the most star-studded lineups in Valorant, and so, you know, definitely not surprised to see them just kind of come out brawling like that, and heavy rifle buy this round.
2 ghosts in the mix here, though, for M80. So they're really just looking at these initiators to try to get things going. And oh gosh, John is actually tagged clear once again down to a very early critical health standpoint as M80 look to stack over towards A-Long.
Yeah, and Clear's the one you got to look out for. He has such an incredible skill ceiling, but sometimes the decision-making in critical mid-round chaotic moments just isn't there. And that's what we have to watch out for this matchup, as M80, of course, having that firepower advantage, steamrolling into the A side, no problem. But let's be fair, this is what we expected in a round like this economically.
Surely it would be. Would be nice to tally at least some damage, though, if you're disguised, which some of it does come by Riku, but can't quite finish off John over towards A-Long. So it's a sheets flawless here in the second round for M80. Off to a strong start, and this starts to pose a couple of questions, because most recently disguised, when they were on this map versus TSM, it was the defensive half that really kind of led them astray, dropping a number of rounds in a row. 7 or 6 out of 8 in a row were won straight for TSM on their way to a 13-10 win.
Yeah, not only that, but also when you look at M80's attacking half of Haven, they have gotten 7 or better rounds when they have started on the attacking side. So usually, you know, able to do very well. Now they already have both pistol and bonus secured. I mean, they're on a great start. But here comes the full buy from Disguised. Clear already feeling some pressure here over at Long A. He's got some support from Sewers as he backs away.
Aldrone to support, just trying to see if anyone's inside the start cover early. Nothing going to get revealed here, though, as there will eventually be an opportunity here for DSG to try to reclaim A-Long. They're trying to get aggressive. Gangsta will drop in the process, though, and that will be enough for Qualanoob to assert some dominance here at A-Long. And, well, M80 look to use that as an opportunity to move their way forward.
Yeah, they're clearing out the double stack there with the Aftershock, getting a lot of space. Obviously, they still have the Killjoy, kind of making sure nothing's going weird over at middle, but Clear on the Sewers aggression, able to take John Cutie down. But this is opening up the floodgates for the A-Long attack, because now M80 knows that that's vulnerable.
Over the top, M80 gonna get challenged by Steel. Oh, he only gets 1, but even that's not bad at all. You still have to deal with Clear inside a sewer. Zip is standing with him, and as EU tries to clear out by himself, he meets a strong resistance, and Clear bounces right back in towards side. So now Nismo, who's never allowed to plant, finds himself caught into a 1v3. The first one's good, but it's Riku from behind to finish off the kill, and Disguise get on the board.
Yeah, it's just kind of a back and forth affair, right? I mean, you have M80 reading the pressure from Sewers, so understanding that Long A is a good option. They're very good at reacting to pressure in that way, but you know, tip your hat to the fact that Clear and company just held firm into Sewers for so long that they were a constant thorn in M80's side. They never could feel comfortable planting Spike. The rotations were coming in, you know, top side of the map as well to add to it. So great opening win for Disguised. Sets up their economy, but now we're at equal footing.
Still, though, Disguised not going to give up on this play towards A-Long. Recon Bolt. A little updraft to get on top of the boxes. Faultline was there to assist. And DSG are going to get A-Long here. A lot of utility spent for it, to be fair, but that seems to be part of the game plan. And this is something we did see versus TSM as well, where Disguise are looking to get aggressive on the outsides and trust that Riku, the new guy on, can hold on to the other side of the map by himself. And he's been pretty good, so I like the idea of it.
I also like the idea that they're actually trying to be proactive on defense right away. I feel like they let M80 control the tempo of the game the entire time in their last matchup, right? They never really got to kind of exercise their own assertiveness. And so to see them, you know, fight for A lobby control there, swat M80 away, kind of shows that, hey, they're looking to, you know, stand their ground. They're not looking at that last matchup and reflecting on it. They're looking to play their game. And I love that early. As we are going to see M80 pivoting here into a C attack, just waiting for the smoke to fade, and then they're looking to pack a wallop here. But there are defenders on site. They're not looking to play a retake this time around.
No, this is all about contesting, and if there were to be any sort of defensive help, it's largely going to come around this long flank through spawn, which there is an alarm bot in the way, but Steel, first one tested, gets first blood. Flashes not really fully connecting. That leaves Riku in the corner, gets 2. What an absolutely beautiful defense. Clear's now inside. That's good to try to completely entrap M80 at Long. And oh man, the proactive defense really coming through solid. The Altron from behind puts John Cutie in a pretty impossible situation. All the utility to funnel, and Disguise take a very clean 4th round.
Dude, John Cutie might as well have been in a dungeon at that point. I mean, the guy's just pinned between 2 people, lobbing utility at him inside the closet. He had no way out, and that was a brilliant defensive stand from DSG. You could see their double stack player was very much phased by the fault line other utility, but he was allowed to recover by his teammates being able to get some action from Platt, allow him to kind of, you know, get out of the stun phase and then come back in and reestablish that crossfire. So really well done. This puts M80 on a save. We're at an equal score. Opportunity for DSG to take a lead here. Clear with the operator defensively.
I love this from Clear. Predicting that there's going to be knives over the top. It will not be, though. It's the knives of Qualinoob that have already gotten into Sewer, and Clear. Oh, he may try to give this a peek. And he may be rewarded for it. Shot just a bit wide, but does dash away. Help is here, so there will be no immediate onslaught, but M80 are not looking to slow down. Paranoia comes across the site. Cloudburst is trying to keep Clear safe, but M80 are still a little bit at range. Held by this nebula, so to speak. Clear, backside corner. Not able to fully connect on the player at long, but the defense has a pretty solid idea as far as what's nearby, and as Qualinoob drops, the spike will have to retreat.
Yeah, I mean, Clear was doing a great job there just maintaining vision on long A. He knew his teammate had Sewers covered, so he could just kind of keep that op on that angle. Refortify. Now they're starting to clear things out. They'll catch EU stuck in the corner. Still got Killjoy utility to watch onto B, which is being attacked, but Riku ready for it. But he does go down, so the spike will be allowed to plant, and this makes things interesting.
Good shock darts, though, on the way through. Still an Aldrone left to be playing with, and Nismo is throwing out everything. He does still have the Rolling Thunder, and yeah, he's going to position maybe for a chance to use this. So Xander with the solo rifle will play back towards Gong. You'll have John Cutie kind of lingering in towards mid to make sure no one pops out through window or the offensive-sided doors of mid. But DSG largely coming in through A-Link, and here's the attack. Steel gets the first. Xander would have to double up. He's getting tagged up, and well, it's not going to be clean enough trades. It leaves Nismo to 11 HP by himself. Steel will clean it up, and now how about this for DSG? Handful of rounds in a row as they will secure the defuse.
Indeed they will, but you have to also take into account how costly that was. They're going to have 4 rebuys off of that round. They were up against an ecoing team who got a spike plant, so did not handle that as efficiently as they needed to, but I do like the composure and how things were starting to kind of go awry when Riku goes down on B, but they're able to still work out the retake together as a team in a very coordinated fashion, and so that's still a really positive sign despite the fact that that was a little bit more expensive than they wanted it to be. They come into this now with 3 ults. 2 ults available for M80, including that Rolling Thunder, which we know is a big tool to get yourself onto a site or swat a retake away.
Yep. And these are really important rounds, not just for this map, by the way, but for the entirety of the series. M80 is the best team in full purchase versus full purchase rounds in the NAVCL. M80 is very good at just about a lot of these different rounds that look like this, and you can see exactly why. Just brute force, they break down the defensive setup at A-Long and in Sewer simultaneously, and that'll be enough for a plant, leaving Riku, new guy up by himself for a 1v5.
Yeah, this is a tall order, and you wonder just how far he'll even be able to get after that first one. Well, that's it. That's the limit. We found it. That's Quality who has the angle. But yeah, actually, just to bounce off what you were talking about, they are number 1 in total rounds won, number 1 in half buys, number 1 in full buys, number 1 at winning when they're at an economic disadvantage, and they're also number 2 when they have an economic advantage. So they really do, they're basically in the top 3 in every category as far as round wins go. No doubt about that. So just wanted to add a little bit of context to the point you made and what Disguised are up against here, as they are now going to be on the save with the Blade Storm. Will give Clear a chance to maybe be an X factor in this round, as we're looking to get a little bit aggressive at middle with it.
Yeah, I like it. Again, I think, you know, if you're looking at this from the perspective of Disguised, Clear was a workhorse in that TSM match in week 5. So see if you can get hot early, why not? And that is full mid-map control. M80 are still looking for a chance to punish this, and Xander's done just that. Qualinoob connects onto Clear in through window, and that will pretty much put the round out of reach.
Yeah, it's Xander just kind of holding the back line, anticipating the aggression and knocking down 3. Trying to see if he can turn that hat trick into perhaps 4. There's only 1 left standing. It's going to be Gangsta still in B side, making that rotation through Link. Spike, funnily enough, is still off-site, getting Orb, so prioritizing that first to build up the ult before planting Spike, which didn't give him the ult for the next round. So just attention to detail there.
Yep. And T. A couple of shots come through, but another Sheets flawless second one so far through 7 rounds of action. Still a really tight map, and this is, I put the tweet out there. It's like, look, do not sleep on this Disguise versus M80 matchup, because the progress we saw from this Disguise team against TSM was very notable. And, again, just to re-hit it one more time, we were talking about, like, they are so close to being able to pull off these 5v5 executes at the same level of not just your TSMs, but also your M80s and the guards. And so far, we've seen that. This is a much better defensive half from Disguised, even in the immediate going last week to this week, looking at how they're faring, at least through the first 7 rounds.
Yeah, I think they were averaging, 3 or 4 rounds defensively throughout the first 5 weeks of Challengers. So, yeah, they're definitely well within that range with many rounds left to play. Gangsta trying to get something with this early Hunter's Fury, and he's gonna find it, taking down Quad, dude. The tip of the spear has been broken off from M80. Not used to having that happen that early in the rounds.
Yeah.
They're trying to break some utility here to crack open the front door B, but actually it misses. The alarm bot still stands as Riku plays sewers to keep it active. M80 kind of just trying to figure out what they want to do here in the mid round. They'll smoke window, try to threaten some presence over at Garage. In the meantime, they're also trying to establish some A-long control, so keeping their options open, but A does seem like the intended target. And I love this bait and switch setup that we have with the Sova and the Killjoy here on sewers.
This is the first time that Riku will be playing defensively in towards A. So once you see this sentry turret, does this maybe change your mentality if you're M80? Because it's going to be very late before they actually will notice that this sentry turret is here. Smokes are out. Rolling Thunder's in. That sends a sentry turret flying. I haven't seen that interaction before, but we had a good look at it. Aftershock trying to keep things at bay. The follow-up with the guiding. Splash not going to really do too much, unfortunately, in Disguise. Their defense, once again, unfortunately, crumbles as the plant will get off and Disguise are left in 2v4.
I mean, M80 just did the perfect hit that basically bypassed their setup, right? I mean, it was a bait and switch setup on sewers with Gangsta just kind of passively watching the site cross from that closet position. All M80 members ghost. The turret never even gets triggered. It gets sent flying by him, Rolling Thunder, and it gives M80 easy control of the site since everyone's playing sewers side. And so, yeah, that was just a little bit of a just getting a little bit unlucky on your defensive setup, right? They were certainly well positioned for literally everything else except for, a Rolling Thunder 4-man A rush through long. So M80 will jump up to 5, clear, saving the operator. That might be a world record, actually, for
long jump, sentry turret. Long jump.
Yeah, long jump for turret. Yeah, absolutely. I think we should, measure that in units, store it in the databases, and just keep it for future, future reference. I think that's a really important stat.
I'm here for it.
Like a whole new game mode, maybe. Dude. Look at that thing, dude.
a little extra bounce off of the actual spike target as well. Okay.
Yeah, he did like a fakie off the box, so a little bit of X Games action there for you. So I mean, I think I'm here for it. Like the turret long throw is a new game mode coming to you soon from Riot Games. Just be on the lookout in your main menu.
We can add that into. Did you ever do the parkour course in the training mode map? In the back of the buildings and all that? Did you ever try any of that?
Let me just tell you how tilted I got on that real quick, dude. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, it didn't last very long. I know what you're talking about. I've explored it, but, I didn't last very long on it. It's not my thing,
That's a throwback, though.
It is.
I'm here for it, though. We'll call it the Valorant Games coming this summer.
Yep.
Okay, but Disguised in a bit of a timeout.
Show match? We do the Olympics and stuff.
I think we should make that happen.
We can.
One representative from every team in each event.
I'll get my people to talk to your people, and then we'll talk to Riot's people, and then we'll sort something out.
Okay. But a key round here now coming off of the timeout for Disguised, seeing a couple of rounds not quite go their way. Like you mentioned, Clear does hold on to the operator. It'll be in a save here for round 9, but you have to think that this conversation is more so about what happens in 10, 11, and 12 here than necessarily what happens right here.
Obviously, this is just a round where you're doing whatever you can, right?
Yeah.
It definitely is the next round, as you're alluding to. That's really going to be the difference maker. But if they can steal one away, that would be huge. As Clear is trying to get aggressive here. Is not going to spot anything, so he's going to get a lot of intel and map control here, and this could free up some rotations. They're also getting through long with the Owl drone, so they must know that it's either Garage or B at this point.
Yeah.
Problem is the Killjoy's too far away to confirm it as the turret deactivates, and so M80 is going to kind of just slip in here, and it's going to be all down to the retake.
Oh, reactivates, perks its head up, says who's nearby. A couple of tag shots coming out. It actually does some significant damage, and as Gangsta walks in, he gets one, but the trades are immediate for M80, and we go to a 4v3. Clear still on the back. Oh, gets a chance at EU, but now that he's missed that, you think that the chances of him being able to foil the setup defensively of this post plan is likely not going to be all that high with an op. But how about this? Riku, steal, couple of nice shots, leaves EU in a corner. He misses timing on the clear here, so these are just individual fights, and lockdown is in, but EU completely stays safe from clear. And Koala Noob on the other side just was never predicted over towards Gong, so this lockdown will be destroyed, and there will not be time for a defuse. Boy, it was close, but M80 just a little too sneaky.
Yeah, certainly. It's just one of those situations, again, where Disguise are having to take a risk on a round where they're kind of half bought up. You understand it, that that's kind of the way you have to do to just give you any hope. And they do press both peripheries of the map, and they just don't get anything from it. And so it's just like a free B site take, a plant. It comes down to a tricky retake. Like you said, they did at least pose a threat. They got a couple of key frags that, you know, got the lockdown in play and gave them some hope. But M80 just kind of stayed composed, you know, roll with the punches and found a way to close the round. But now we're back to full buys for both sides.
Thing is, that was a key ultimate that the Skies are going to be missing here in these last three rounds.
That's a very good point. Meanwhile, M80 has almost all the ults.
Yep. So small advantages in terms of the utility economy, if you want to call it that. Disguised are heavy stacked here at mid. A little bit of a late push through. And there is nobody from M80 to read this. And more importantly, John doesn't actually have any utility on the flank to keep this safe. So EU's not going to be a part of this hit as the lockdown's put in for the attack.
Yeah, there's really no way to stop it either just yet. Steel trying to flank. He's going to get caught by EU, and so just M80 has everything going their way. They confirm sight with lockdown, and they catch the flank. So now DSG is stalled on this retake, but Rolling Thunder might help it.
That Rolling Thunder is massive. Fault line behind it, though, and it's actually going to be the Hunter's Fury to completely stop any further aggression from the defense. The third sheet's flawless in play for M80. And man, for a moment there, you thought Disguised had the perfect read. The little small flank off the back, nearly timed perfectly. The Rolling Thunder hits everything, but EU just tees off on both.
I gotta get to the bigger point, though, here. Can we roll back that footage really quick of the Rolling Thunder, please? There was an attempt made by DSG here very early on after M80 to try to win the turret long jump competition. They really did. Definitely didn't go as far. Can confirm that. I did all the trigonometry. It just didn't happen to get sent far enough. Not as far as the first one.
Production is verified, yeah.
I didn't need it. I knew it in my heart, but I'm glad they were able to provide me the proof.
Tough team shots as Steel was just looking to jump for information. Well, he got it. Just came at a very steep cost. And apparently M80 said, that's good enough. We'll back away for a moment here, try to thin out this defense and play the clock. John through the middle of the map. Oh, big shot from clear. And that all of a sudden kind of forces M80 to have to hit. The fault line does connect on all three defenders, actually. And that allows Koala Noob to start to make his move in. Shot's not neat initially, but through the cloud burst, he gets the kill onto Ziff. Secondary flash comes out. It's timed perfectly. Koala Noob, careful, brother. A little sloppy on it, but all of that said, it's a from the shadows from Xander as the spike will re-wrap all the way back over towards A, leaving Riku in a 1v3, but he does have a rifle collected.
He does indeed, and he's got full health, half armor, so he does have a chance here to maybe make something happen, but the fact that Xander controls heaven position while Nismo has the open plant, it's going to give him a lot that he has to check and worry about. You know, all these close corners, he'll be able to clear a little bit of it with the turret, as it is back into play, as well as maybe the alarm bot.
Just comes down to the timing of when you get through this dark cover. I mean, completely absent for any sort of information. This is all about just luck of the draw. He needs to guess the left peak first, and, well, Xander's just crouched underneath the aim of Riku. So we get through 11 as an 8-3 tally, and what looked solid for DSG in the early parts of this half. All of a sudden, things become a little bit more dire here, and you start to feel like this very well may be a must-win round coming up.
I just love this attack at C, though. I mean, such a great layering of the fault line and, you know, flashes to get Koala on top of the plat, and when he struggled a bit, he just kind of cloud burst to buy a little bit more time, recover his aim, and he was getting follow-up flashes at the same time. So just really good team play there from M80. Even in, you know, a situation where they're up against an eco, they're still minding their P's and Q's and just playing discipline. as we have 1 round left to go. ESG does have an ability to put their best foot forward here. Full buy, op on clear. Aggression again, A side from them.
And a Cosmic Divide. That's the only other real tool that's available here outside of basic utility. But this A-long stack, again, M80 are paying some respect to it. And on top of that, like we kind of talked about a couple of rounds ago, I mean, Disguise are getting some information through C-Long that nobody's here. So once again, you're guessing Garage, you're guessing B-Mid, and there's already some good utility for Riku to stop potential B play.
Indeed, it's looking a lot like they want to go for the C hit through Garage and maybe bounce back B if they don't get the read that they want. But now they're getting flanked through A side. So, I mean, defensively speaking, positions-wise, Disguised are winning the chess match. But now it comes down to fragging. Xander able to get the immediate trade. C-site is wide open. Steel, though, holds on to the flanking position from Long.
And that recon bolt kind of noodles its way out of the halls. I think that was supposed to go deeper than it was intended. Steel, well, okay, 1 for 1's not bad. And still, you can see M80 are not 100% sure where Disguised are coming from. There's their follow-up recon bolt. Clear hits the opening shot. Sif with the follow-up. And now John is by himself in a 1v3. Spike is dropped. And the angle being watched by Clear. How about a little proactivity from Disguised, able to survive through the first half 4-8.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned at first because M80 got the equal trade in Garage, which was perfect for them. Then they flush Steel out of Closet with the Aftershock. They kill the Nova so they can trade him as well. And so you're thinking, okay, equal numbers. They have side control. This isn't too shabby. But great response from DSG with that recon through Garage. With the stun, able to come in, clean house, and find themselves a 4th round. And I'll tell you what, if they can take Pistol, they can reel this thing back in. This is still very much up for contest, although M80, I imagine, going to be pretty happy with the 8 attacking rounds. That is kind of around their average, and their defense is usually pretty strong to close. So they're not going to be feeling too out of place right now.
Yeah, it's a big agree. But you have to remember also that Disguised looked pretty solid versus TSM on the offense. Shock Dart and EU with the Ghost is all it takes for first blood. It is traded. So we go to a very early 4v4. And a lot of the defense still leaning over towards a potential C hit. So if Disguise were to commit here, it would really only have Nismo in their way.
Yeah, they're really just hoping that one smoke they dropped in sewers is going to be enough to kind of deter any aggression at A side for a moment. Buy them a little bit more time to not have to rotate and just kind of trust in Nismo playing Heaven to kind of keep tabs on the A side. And hey, we'll play a retake if we have to try to make sure that we have, you know, the C site really fortified and that we have tabs on Garage and middle. That alarm bot about to get triggered right now by Riku. So that's going to give them an idea that perhaps front B isn't threat. So the smoke immediately goes down. That A attack, though, that you're referring to is coming into play. So they're going to be forced to play retake here as a spike is going to come in. Nismo not even really doing anything other than watching for a B link play.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, here it's going to stand a 4-on-4 post plant.
And the fact that Disguised to get in the site without committing any utility is wholly good. Left. Especially considering that Ziff has both flashes and his fault line available. Riku still has a nanostorm that they can place. This is all starting to trend towards Disguised. M80 coming in for the retake, though. Very rapidly. It's going to be on Nismo to kind of hit the trigger as far as when is the go call going to go. Paranoia going to stretch right across the site. Fault line there as well. Disguised in a little bit of trouble here, but a really good gravity well. That actually allows at least for a 1-for-1 trade. Xander, John just brute forcing their way in, and that's all it takes apparently. Right click because of the classic will win out the trade, and M80 will get the defuse.
I mean, again, you know, M80 known for their strength of like their aggressive set pieces on the attacking side. That translates to retakes. It's the same type of mentality on coordinating utility, pushing together, making sure that your spacing is good. And that's what you see here. While the Gravel traps Koala, he still gets his frag, buying time for his teammates to come out through the low side, then they just collapse together as a unit. There's never one guy stranded. There's always the trade potential there right next to him. And so that's just a well-calculated retake there from M80. Going to put him up 9-4. You are seeing a bit of a force-up from Disguise here, grabbing a couple of stingers and shares. So they certainly have some type of set play in mind if they're making this purchase.
M80, a lot of utility and some focus here at A-Long. But Disguise are looking to get quickly into Garage. There is a lot, and I mean a lot, of John QD utility in their way if they commit through this, but no, it's just a little bit of a show of force, and then a backup over towards B. It's Koala Noob up top with the Bulldog. He's going to have a little bit of help from EU on the cross.
stun is going to hit him, though. That allows him to start pouring out the smoke. He has to dash to Gong. John Cutie, though, plays Guardian Angel to give him that opportunity. Now he can come back to the fight, and boy, does he.
Yeah, really clean stuff on the crossfire here from M80. And even though Disguise do make it a bit punishing, ultimately, the play is red. M80 survived through it, and that little 1v1 over towards the A site also tilts the way of M80. So 10-4 now the count, and now it's time for Disguise. It's a nearly do-or-die time here, which is tough to say because that little half buy will keep them limited and restricted from going into a full purchase here in the third round of the half.
Yeah, that's kind of the repercussions that they're going to have to pay for deciding to go for that roll of the dice. I mean, again, at least they had a game plan to it. It wasn't completely out of the, ordinary. It wasn't as if they couldn't maybe grab the round. They did well to certainly put a lot of pressure on Kuala early and get some sight presence, but John Cutie just played it so well to help get Kuala back into the fight. And they defended it nicely.
Still, though, M80 looking to, again, just walk right up, control A long, and they're going to get away with it. So Disguise are once more going to be forced to have to play through mid or through the teeth of this Killjoy setup. Tall ass.
Yeah, nope. I couldn't agree more with you, brother. It's going to be a tough one. And Nismo gonna find Gangsta's Dome right away. Clear, though, finds the kill at A lobby. And now, all of a sudden, a new option has been put on the table. As he's going to find A very open right now. And now Riku catches Nismo getting aggressive middle. And so, all of a sudden, M80 may be overextending a little bit here. And Disguise has some options.
I'll say. This is a completely vacant A site, and M80 are feeling the pain of it. How about that? How a little shot connects onto Xander, so he's forced away. And now, Disguise have the advantage. I mean, M80 have to stack. There's really no other option.
They're going to guess correctly, though, man. Look at this. They're all converging onto the A side. Clear is the weakened target. Remember that. And John Cutie finds it, and the other two are soft. No. They'll connect there as well.
Man. The deep sigh of Disguised fans everywhere. And what looked to be a very winnable round. Still not out of the realm of possibility. Steal with the Guardian could definitely do some special things, but he's running out of time. Has to also peek through the dark cover. EU's going to go advanced on this position. And how about that play from Steel? Now a 1v1. Looking for Xander very rapidly. No time for the plants. And no, Xander will not give him an option to get the kills. And M80 will get the 11th round. Steel hoping for a little bit of extra eco off the plant. But ultimately, M80 into supremacy.
Yeah, just smart play there from Xander, reading the clock and just staying out of the fight, knowing that even if Steel can pop off one, he won't have time to clear everything, grab Spike, and plant safely. Definitely a tense round, though. Disguise, again, they've been pretty crafty on some of those low-buy rounds. They certainly give themselves some looks.
Yeah.
It's just that M80 have been able to brute force their way back into rounds with some just, good, straight-up, throwing punches, man. I mean, look at the frag counts here. I mean, you're seeing everyone do pretty well. Koala obviously up on top, as he often is. Again, he's in the top 3 for basically every category when it comes to fragging and damage dealing. And he's not slowing down here, apparently, in the mid-season face-off. And, again, everyone, there's no anchor or something like that on M80. Meanwhile, Ziv continues to struggle on this new initiator role, perhaps. Clear's had some big frags, but they haven't led and developed into a lot of round wins.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily his fault. It's just how the cookie has crumbled, so to speak. I mean, again, I think DSG has played a savvy game. It's just they haven't been able to, dot the I's and cross the T's and actually pull one across the finish line.
And there's been a couple of rounds like that last one where it's just like, ooh, if only Disguise knew the advantages that they had. Just a couple of last-second decision makes that unfortunately walk right into M80, giving them a chance to fight back. There's been maybe 3 of those rounds in this map so far, as now Koala Noob, even after the fault line, going to get aggressive, and it works out. I mean, that is just the definition of Koala Noob, exactly.
Yes, I was about to say the same thing, dude. I mean, he is a freak. He will do those things. He is that X factor that you can never quite totally account for. You know it's coming, you just don't know when and where. And he's able to pick up one for free there off that aggressive play. I like the response, though, from DSG. They're very quick to just kind of absorb that pressure and start hitting elsewhere. They're knocking on the door of C.
Oh, but John, opportunity here. Oh, boy. And M80, again, it's just, that is a 3v2 situation where if you win 1v1, not have to force a trade, things start to become very plausible. But now you're into a spike plant situation. No ultimates to play with. Rolling Thunder, not even close. Koala Noob hits another unbelievable shot, and the knives are out. Oh boy, man, another round that very well. You get that one pick onto John inside window, or you take down Xander cleanly, the round looks very different.
Yeah, they just didn't clear that right side window, which is exactly where John Cutie was tucked in. He's able to get that frag. He also catches like a pixel of clear as he's backing off, so he knows that there's one garage and one on the site planning, so they have perfect information at that point on how to play out the rest of the round. So you'll see it here. He gets this frag as he backed off. He just happened to catch clear, which gave Koala Noob the tip off to kind of peek it with the op. So it is going to be now map point for M80. Full buy still available for Disguise. They have the ult on steal. Ziff is 1 orb away and everyone else is 2 orbs away. So
yeah,
they could certainly pack a punch very quickly if they can get, you know, a nice opening sequence somewhere.
Problem here is the ultimates that have been earned in that last round by M80 are key ones. Outside Divide is going to be tossed in very early for Disguise, looking to maybe just brute force their way on towards B, but this is all fake. That's actually going to bait out EU, who pulls the Hunter's Fury and then gets to read, wait a second, they're not actually coming this way, so he actually doesn't even throw the darts out at all. A bit puzzling to be sure. Spike is going to be planted, and now M80 have lost a key tool on the retake.
Yeah, again, this is Disguise. They're known for these nice little set pieces, these nice little pieces of brain work. But now they have to still hold off the retake. John Cutie and Xander. Pinstripe goes to kill feed in their favor.
4v3. Koala Noob chewed up a bit by the Nanostorm effect. Nova Pulse gets actually a lot of damage in. The concussive effects, very punishing as Nismo will drop, but EU Xander fighting back, leaving clear now in a 1v3 in total. Finds the first, avoids the shock darts. Koala Noob triggers. Cloud bursts down, and there's the wide peak. Oh, another one of those rounds, man, where it's so close, but close. M80 is just a touch better.
Or are they?
Or are they?
A touch better on the fragging, but not fast enough, as Koala Noob gonna be unable to get the defuse. I was about to just start singing their praises. I mean, I thought Koala Noob and EU played that last sequence out so well, how they were spaced to be able to get the exchanges here. It starts with that, but look, Xander's protected from the left side of sight so he can focus on the right side. It was this really good team play there, but again, Disguise bought enough time to allow that spike to go through, and now they come into the follow-up round with 3 ults available, fully bought, and Gangsta's only 1 away from his own.
Okay. You can see a world where you can start to put together a couple of rounds in a row, and then we can really start to entertain the idea of a full-on comeback. Clear's already on site, by the way. Xander, I don't think expected that at all. Sitting inside of his dark cover, he has Clear pretty much on his right hip, just on the other side of the smoke. But once again, this is Disguise and their cheekiness. Clear's in the site, and everyone else is wrapping in towards B, and they've got M80 trapped here inside a connector. Just comes down to, can they find the kills this time around? It's a 3-for-2 trade. All of it favoring M80. Rolling Thunder will find some value. Alarm Bot, though, makes Zip a bit vulnerable, and that's all it needs for John to still finalize the kill, even while stunned.
That's tough because that was such a good Rolling Thunder. It hit everyone. It stunned everyone, and he's about to capitalize, and he gets stuck on the Killjoy utility. And so John Cutie's still able to swat him away, and now it puts Gangsta in a very difficult 1v3 situation here. Yeah, he's got utility, but unfortunately, he can't really use Hunter's Fury because then it puts him out to play.
Defensive lockdown will also force him a bit off.
Yeah, this is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, he just has very little win conditions here.
Recon Bolt has to hit, and he's been revealed now. So now it's just down to, can you find the crossfire of the sentry turret? Nearly a key narrative point of this entire map. Pulled his attention just a little bit away from EU. And M80 will come out the victors of map number 1, 13-5. Even though a lot of those rounds may have been closer than the score would suggest.
Dude, I was about to say the exact same thing. I had the same vibe that this was a much closer game than what the scoreboard shows, but all that matters is who puts the W in the column, and that is going to be M80. They played some impressive VALORANT as they've been playing all year long. They showed some kind of poise and a little bit of, you know, less scrappiness as well at times. I felt like they kind of slowed down the tempo a good bit, kind of showing themselves to have a little bit more of a well-balanced playing style this particular game against Disguise. And again, we talk about Disguise. They were so crafty, and they gave themselves a lot of chances. They were so close on so many. This very easily could have been more of like a 13-9, 13-10 type of game.
Sure.
But M80 were in control for the bulk of the game, and they do come out on top.
And the thing you got to keep in mind is we've talked about, you know, the map history between these two squads. You know, we expected M80 to be clean, polished, and convincing on this map. It's been their bread and butter throughout the entirety of the group stage. And a number of those rounds that you kind of typically see M80 run away with were not necessarily the case. Sure, there were a handful of flawless rounds, and sure, we got the results at times that we expected, but Disguise put up a hell of a fight considering that that was not their map selection. So we've got Ascent coming up for map number 2. I think both of us are kind of primed and ready to see if Disguise have fixed up on some of their mistakes on the map from last week. We'll see if that is true or not. We'll drop away to a break. The desk will come back, give us our thoughts, and we'll be back for map number 2. Don't go far.
With eBay Refurbished, you have a choice of refurbished qualities to best fit your budget. Certified refurbished items are restored by the manufacturer to like new for up to 50% off. This drill was barely out of the box. Soon it will be back to working like new. Here's how it works. Every item is carefully inspected. Any imperfections are fixed by the manufacturer or manufacturer-approved vendor. Then it's tested to make sure it's working perfectly. Once it passes inspection, it's given the verified stamp of approval. Then repackaged with new accessories and shipped to its ultimate destination. With Certified Refurbished, you can shop with confidence because all our manufacturers go through a rigorous vetting process. And every purchase comes with an award-winning 2-year warranty, a money-back guarantee, and hassle-free returns. That's what makes it the smarter way to shop for premium brands. eBay Refurbished. Like new products, better than new prices.
Unfortunately, the difficulty continues here for DSG in their face-off against M80 as we see a continuation of the last series. It's a 13-5 victory for M80 over DSG in our map opener. We talked about it coming into this. This was going to be a hard series for DSG. We needed to see them change things up a little bit from the last time they played. And Roy, to be fair, on a purely stat level, this is an improvement from the previous time they played Haven.
Absolutely. I think we go with the sandwich method here, Bach. Hear me out. So we start with a positive. Okay, that's the positive. That's an exponential improvement from the last game. It was a 13-2 last time. This is a 13-5. That, in my book, is a W. Let's go. On the second note, this was a little rough. I think there wasn't many opportunities for DSG to even showcase themselves. We can start with the pistols and the bonuses, right? Both pistols going M80's way. Bonus loss in the second half. That's already 5 rounds in the advantage of M80, right? Plus the economy momentum going. This is already a bit of a rough start for DSG.
You can see just how things kind of spiraled, though. We talked about like what M80 was capable of doing, and a lot of that was pace control. It was putting Koala in a position to kind of just be like a speed demon, get into positions that were not supposed to work, but they did. I don't think we saw that as frequently here. I do feel like overall his play felt a little bit more contained, or I would say restrained. Contained makes it sound like it was DSG that was doing that, whereas more like M80 we're like, okay, let's like play a little reserved here. We still want to win. This is an important game. Don't get too out of control because you can easily spiral the game in the opposite direction. But Koala Noob does end up finishing with Koala Noob numbers. I mean, 23-10, was 15-7 at half. But I think a player that also skates under the radar there is Xander, who also had an incredible series, 19-10, 15 assists, 312 ACS. Wow. Strong game. And then John, who really came alive. I wish I had the halftime stat number. I usually just record the players who are sitting at the top, which was Koala and Xander. So John kind of just disappeared into the background, ends up going huge in the second half, going 19-9 overall. But it really is just an indicative of the performance we saw from M80. DSG winning 4 rounds in the first half, a single round in the second.
Yeah, and you know, in the beginning, it looked pretty strong. It looked like it was going to be a much closer game than how it ended. I feel like DSG was making the right decisions, essentially. If M80 was making presence at A, then DSG started walking down mid, and at the end of the day, they just weren't successful in their picks. They were getting flooded on their retakes and denied from M80. So like you were saying, Roy, they got 3 more rounds than what they did last time when they played Haven. I feel like if they're gonna succeed going on to the next map, DSG is just gonna have to shake it off because it's not over yet. They still have 2 more maps, and it's gonna be their map pick too. So
one of the things, Roy, that I love about M80 too is it does feel like and Em had touched upon this a little bit, their retakes are so strong. So even when we saw site control from DSG, M80 retakes so quick that our poor observers have a hard time capturing it all because it all feels like it happens simultaneously. It's like they Thanos snap the other team away because everyone just dies and you're like, oh, they retake. When did that happen? Just now? Oh, okay. So that's something that DSG is definitely going to have a hard time with, especially as we look to map number 2. But like Em said, Roy, this is their map pick. I mean, there's got to be some silver lining here.
Yeah, I love the Copium, honestly. It's great. I am curious to see how the next map goes. It is going to be Ascent. Ascent is a pretty strong map for M80, I would say, and the style that was working for them on Haven is a style that is also probably going to work on Ascent, right? They have a lot of initiator utility. They have a lot of things to set up Koala, who's already having a fire start to this matchup. So the elements are there for M80. I am curious to know because if DSG is coming into this map as their pick, they probably have a pretty solid game plan going into it, how they're going to minimize some of this initiator utility, how they're going to minimize some of Koala's impact, as well as some of the kind of like retakes. And this is something that we touched on, right? The retakes. Dude, their retakes on this last map were crazy. They look like
So
executes,
good.
like they were executing back on the enemy team, right? Those are wild, almost flawless retakes, time after time, multiple rounds in a row by M80. And these are things that will most definitely be an impact here on the second map.
Important to note too, this is more comfortable territory for Disguised. Even though we only saw them play it twice during the group stages, they played it pretty frequently during the qualifiers to get to that point. So it's not like they're unfamiliar with it. But Roy, let's not forget, different team. It's one shift can change so many things. In the same way, like let's frame it up like this. TSM was not looking good in the first 2 weeks. Hayes leaves, they bring in Campecki. It's one player, but it changes roles, it changes the ideal, and suddenly this team's now a 4-1 team. They look so much better. They are looking fantastic. DSG, they lose Exalt. It's one player. They bring Riku up, who's a sub, but they play different roles. So now Ziff has to fill the initiator role. Riku's playing the sentinel role. Everything changes, and the team just feels like it doesn't really have that same feel anymore. It can be so difficult to just try to adjust. So now that we go to Ascent, even though it has been in the past comfortable, it might not be as comfortable as it once was.
For sure. I think statistically, we showed this earlier, right, in the broadcast. Ziff stats have dropped significantly since the role swap.
Yeah.
And I think Haven was also this kind of similar storyline, right? His stats weren't looking good. I think it was like 5 kills in 5 and 12 or 5 and 14 or something not beautiful. And this is, again, it's not like Ziff's fault or anything like that, but role swapping is super challenging. It can absolutely throw a team off. Different comms, different energy, different ability to speak and listen among teammates, right? Like the initiator role is such a massive impact on the team.
Yeah.
And I think Ziff is up to this task, no doubt about it. He's an incredibly talented player. But we're talking about M80, who's been playing together for a while now, who have insane synergy among all their players.
And then another thing to mention too, it's the other initiator on DSG, and we talked about this while watching the game.
Yep.
We didn't spend much time on the desk talking about Gangsta, but Roy, you felt like Gangsta used to be this absolute scrim demon, a monster in the matches, but also struggling here. 5 and 16 performance, just 102 ACS. Obviously, no one really played out of their minds. Riku finishes at the top at 202 and 12 and 17. The numbers are at least a little bit better, but no one played well. But Gangsta's got to find his footing too, because this is a player that at one point in time was like a top 5 Sova in NA.
Most definitely. I think this, instead of like highlighting this as kind of a negative thing, I think we could highlight this into a positive thing where this is an opportunity for Gangsta to reclaim his throne as a top initiator. And EU is definitely a name you want to cross off your list if you're looking to kind of get that reputation,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a great player to diff if you really want that notoriety on the streets. And I think this is an opportunity for him to prove himself.
It certainly is. It's just, it's hard for me to look at this and be like, oh yeah, like DSG is definitely going to come back. I'm really reaching here, M, for silver lining, because I want to see a third map in the series. I want to see DSG get maybe some payback for what happened to them in the group stages. But it's just hard for me to make that suggestion simply because M80 has been so insanely good and has proven again how strong they are just with that first map victory.
Yeah, and you can really tell that they're feeling good too. Like I said, the way that they were just flooding and on point and just all coordinated and wanted to essentially overwhelm DSG, it shows. And I think that winning the first map, it's going to roll on over to the second map. So I'm a little bit worried for DSG going into the second map. Riku did mention that they had to be a little bit cautious of Koala's op, and he's absolutely right. We saw very often that Koala is all over the map, pushing through smokes at long A and getting a pick, falling back, regrouping towards B, getting a pick. This is something that's very scary when a Jet player is feeling it and getting those picks all over the map. So essentially they'll have to think of ways to counter that, because Ascent's another really good map for Koala to accelerate that way.
Well, we are just about ready to jump into our second map in the series. Again, it is Ascent. It is Disguised Pick. And if you're hoping for a win, it's going to have to come here. Otherwise, it's down into the lower bracket. Well, they'll have to make a run against similar foes being knocked down in their opening round matches. Let's hand things over to the casters. We've got Shift and Dust standing by. It's all yours.
Thanks so much, friends. Great breakdown on the other side, I'd say, about not only map number 1, but maybe some things to expect here for Ascent map number 2. I think just before we talk about Ascent, one of the things that really popped up, and where I think if you're looking at how exactly Disguise get back into the series, better in first kills and first blood engagements, and better at breaking down post plants, because 12 of the first kills went the way of M80, and 8 out of 9 post plants were either held or broken down by M80, depending on which side of the spike you're on. So that immediately has to change. The good news is Ascent should be a better overall venue for this Disguise team.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. They have such a bigger pedigree on Ascent in comparison to really any other map in the pool, right? They beat TSM in Week 5 in Split 1. They beat Oxygen Esports as well in the qualification process. Their only loss, in fact, on Ascent since coming together as a team was a loss to the Guard, which is arguably the other best team in this thing besides M80, right? So coming in with like a 10-1 record between the qualifiers and the first, couple of weeks of the league is certainly good for them. Whereas M80, again, we talked about how shallow their map pool is and how small the sample size is because they weren't competing in qualifiers. They weren't competing in off-season events. So they're more shrouded in mystery, I think, as far as like understanding what maps they're best on and what maps, maybe they don't have as much fluidity on, because they're 1-1 on Ascent, right? They beat TSM. But they beat a weaker version of TSM, I would argue. That was before Kentucky was on the team. And they did have a big loss to the Guard, the same team that Disguise lost to. So, I mean, it's a little bit more up in the air, in my opinion, than when it comes to, like, who feels more confident in this map. Because remember, last series, we never got to this map, right? Because we played Haven and Pearl.
Yep.
And while it was in the pool, we never got to see it. Now we do.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, man, especially considering that we walked away pretty impressed with Disguised on their matchup versus TSM last week on this map. At one point in time, the first half, it was like, ooh, which Disguised are we going to get? But hey, they did start to put together some really solid team play. The question is going to be, do they have the right responses now to a very strong M80 squad, as we continue to talk about on the other side, especially a team that is looking likely to use things like the Breach again, which was a problem in Haven. It's not going to play as transparently on a map like Ascent if they stick with it than it would on Haven. But the thing about it is, if we're going to get more utility play out of Breach, that was a problem for Disguise in a couple of those tight rounds that we had in Haven, and could foil them here maybe just a touch. So being able to dance around that utility is going to be a very big key, I think, if Disguise were to find a way to send this to a third map.
Yeah, because I am curious if M80 will stick with the triple initiator setup of the Fade, the KO, and the Breach or not. That was definitely their play the other 2 times they've played it. Curious to see if they'll stick with that. Obviously, Disguise is more of a team that plays that double initiator of Sova and KO. Their big thing is whether or not they want to play Omen or Astra. It seems like Steel's been trending more towards the Astra for more play kind of creation abilities, and there you see it right there. So far, we're seeing everything we thought we would. Nothing's really leapt off the page just yet.
Yeah.
And it won't.
Okay.
That's basically the norms for both of these teams at this point, as Steel, again, has made that pivot to Astra the last time they played this map and they beat TSM, having played Omen every other time. So,
and just for reference sake, talking about this triple initiator, I think when we were watching over that M80 series, we were kind of sat there like, wow, this could be a huge problem. Like, how do you deal with all of this utility on retakes or on initial executes? But the thing was, the Guard actually did handle it. They shut down the M80 squad by just essentially allowing them to spend all their utility, get into sites, and then breaking them down on the post plant situation. So that's why I kind of wanted to highlight that post plant number that we saw in favor of M80 and where it needs to improve here for Disguise, because you're going to have some great film here as far as what M80 wants to do with these triple initiators and how much value they get out of that utility on these executes that we're going to see. I guess in this instance, it'll be on retakes as M80 will be on the defense, Disguise on the attack, and the knife will actually suppress on the 2, but ultimately Disguise were just showing force and backing up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously M80 are sacrificing the Killjoy utility, though, to put this triple initiator setup in play. So it's all about the pros and cons of letting that go, especially on your defensive side, where that can be so vital to help someone anchor a site. Now you have to use that initiation utility a little bit more cleverly to be able to, rotate effectively and make sure you have the numbers where they need to be, as it looks like it is going to be that B strong play immediately coming out here from DSG.
John just trying to wait until Xander needs to peek. Use the fault line as an opportunity to hopefully get him free first kill. Frenzy is in hand. There is that fault line. It does concuss a handful of players, but Gangsta stays away, and that's long enough for Clear to come out for the trade. Qualinoob also denied any re-entry, so the favor goes towards Disguise as the spike is planted. We have an early 3v2 here, and M80 are going to look to stack up. Nismo still with some utility to play with.
Yeah, stuck in market. Clear still keeping tabs on it, but as his dash starts to fade, he will have to fall back, and now he's been suppressed.
John does get the first. That clears out the back of the site. So for Clear and Steel, it's just about trying to hang on to both of these outside areas. John gets one headshot cleared out by himself. Halfway defused, but Clear's going to get 4 in the pistol. And an eBay clutch comes out for Disguise, getting the first.
Oh, man, this is finally Disguise out-battling M80, beating them at their own game. M80 is so good at just having such good spacing and good trading potential. And that's what you saw, I think, time and time again on Haven, which is how they won a lot of their rounds. They were just right next to each other, playing buddy systems, able to just kind of swing together and make sure that they get the trades in their favor. That time, you had Clear just pop off and bulldoze through that setup, and that's big because, again, we all know that Clear has the mechanics. Like, the eye test passes. It's just all about integrating him into a team environment and just getting him more experience, particularly when it comes to, like, critical decision making, like when to extend, when to fall back, when to go for it, when to wait. And that was a beautifully played round by him, though.
Steel tallies first blood. That's on Qualinoob mid, deep through arches, but do you expect that the rest of M80 are quickly on catwalk? Another tag comes out. EU's going to be hit by this, but here comes M80 on. Steel's caught on reload. He's not going to check it. And that's the spike down. Oh, no, now the flash comes through. DSG largely hit by it, but Clear with the hero rifle in the round will get 2 headshots. Now 1 away from a knife that could possibly be used in these first 3 rounds.
Yep. Ziff's about to get his back up in a second. EU clears the one side, though. Not ready for Ziff. Now Ziff able to use it to get the detection on John Cutie, so they know exactly where the last member of the team is, and they have 3 still standing, so they can work this out together.
Well done. Wow, that got dangerous for a second.
It did, yeah. All of a sudden, your lower torso is starting to shift towards the edge of that seat, starting to squirm a little bit, like, oh no. But Clear saving the day yet again. 2 big rounds for him, and I think that is the world to Clear to be able to get that hot of a start to a half. That's exactly what needs to be there to kind of give him that confidence to carry through the rest of the half. It's now so big Storm to get those like lesser experienced players engaged so early like that.
Yeah, preach. I like it.
Get out of my way.
I don't know about preaching. I don't think that's quite.
Well,
I appreciate you though.
You got it. Anytime. Lot of mid-aggression coming through. Spike's not a part of this play. Oh, Clear just gets a little bit handcuffed here at mid. Does get away, if only just barely. Does force the fragment out, though. So, again, an expensive tool is now used just to keep Clear safe, and a couple of the knives were also spent, largely missing.
I was a little bit scared for him because he hit that wall and didn't actually dash all the way backwards. I thought maybe they might swing on him, but he does get away with it. Meantime, Gangsta clearing out tree area with the owl drone. Does not get to detect the player up close on the switch, though, so doesn't quite have perfect intel. Meanwhile, Clear still trying to test the waters of mid. He doesn't want to give this up. I mean, they got some good map control here. I can understand why he wouldn't want to give it away. And now with that kill, they're going to start snapping on this market split to get to B.
Free route through the middle of the map. EU shutting down the initial threat, and this is going to actually pivot DSG back over towards A. Nismo's down to 10 HP. That's his last utility spent as well. So Ziff, no fragment, plenty of flashes. Will get right through tree quickly. Does he get Xander in the corner, though? No, Xander good for 2 defensively. And how about the help? Nismo collapses on the play, and Xander snaps at range to take care of Steel. Oh boy, another one of those rounds where you thought DSG maybe cracked the code, but Xander shuts him up.
Oh, Xander just playing such a nasty angle because when you're coming through that door, you have so many areas of the site that you have to worry about with your crosshair, the middle box, the generator, everything else. He's tucked into that little back corner, just sprays down 2, and then they get the 3rd on the guy main. That's disgusting, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think he gets overshadowed just because of how much of a stats leader Koala Noob is, but Xander is one of the best fragging controllers in the game.
Period. End of sentence.
Done.
Done. But full purchase here coming out for both sides in round 4. No further alts have been earned, although Xander's really close to that little spree to getting a defensive Cosmic Divide, and Disguised are going to give their first test through B main. And the only thing defensively in the way, and this is what you talk about when you don't have a Killjoy, who do you commit here to try to lock down these key positions? They're going to trust that EU can get it done on the fade.
They just trust in playing retake, right? They got aggressive at A main. They don't have the Killjoy utility, so they just have to trust in their retake ability, which again, they have a lot of initiation utility to do it. They don't even have to use it though. They're already just getting frags into smoke.
There's nothing more painful, I think, than seeing that happen, and that foils your entire offense. Just team shots through smoke.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And Ganks are shredded too. So I mean, basically 2.5 men versus 5. And it's not that sitcom.
No.
Is that 3.5 men?
It's 2.5 men.
Okay, I had it. Okay, just making.
Yeah. What?
You wanna hear a
Riku?
crazy
Wow.
Want to hear a crazy one real quick? I ran
Tell
into
me.
a guy last night when I was playing named Smelly Cat. Blew my mind.
That's a reference.
Friends, bro. 90s.
This is your second Friends reference this group stage.
Oh, that's true. The
I'm proud of
Moist
you.
Maker.
Yeah, the Moist Maker.
Yeah, that's right. Got them later. Coming
You're wild for that.
in the mogul form.
Oh, man. Okay. Tough round there for Disguise. Blown up, as mentioned, just through the team shots. And now on to Sheriffs. The lockdown. M80 likely looking for a hopefully clean round from their perspective, because that would put you on 3 alts, maybe close to 4 if Nismo has a good round.
That's a good point. Again, they're playing this aggressive A setup because it wasn't spotted last round. Xander, bait and switch here with Nismo, and, well, they get the better end of the deal. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yep.
Stinger, 1v3. Sniper watching the cross. John, first one in, though, no worries. Okay. So just a complete shutdown from M80 on the little stack right on the entryway to A. Leads us to a 3-2 tally. But Nismo did get a lot of those kills, and now we've got 4 ultimates up defensively against the 3 for DSG.
And really, they have, again, a couple of players struggling to get off the starting blocks here on the Disguise side of things, including Gangsta, kind of a man that was pointed out by the desk that, again, has had a, history of being a very strong initiator player. You just see him be able to get out there and get some stuff going. Quanu's not even really been required yet. He's actually 0-3. Got the operator, though, and, well, he's going to be doing Quanu things. We know that. Oh, my God, dude. That is so... If you're Ziff, you're tilted. You got to be. Like, that's just so ridiculous.
Yeah. And EU takes aggressive challenge, and then Nismo... Oh, boy. Man, these are just one of the... These fights are just straight heartbreak for DSG. You can't even get your play going because of that initial pick. And then the follow-ups as well? Come on.
I will say it's a little bit uncharacteristic of Disguise, though. Like, obviously, the first one you can't really calculate for, and maybe that starts putting in your head, hey, we have to go for something to equalize, but usually they're not one to just go out there and throw out 1v1 duels like that, and that's just not the way to play against M80. Like, they thrive in those moments. That's what they want. So I was a little bit taken back by that, but again, I think they just got shocked by that first pick.
I agree. Maybe one of those like knee-jerk reactions where you're just like, I feel like I have to make a trade happen just so we can actually see this round. Yeah.
It definitely puts you in a pickle. There's no doubt about it. Unfortunately, every single response was swatted away. Only one has fallen for M80. That's EU. Now it's just Steel left with low HP, and they got eyes on this cross from 2 different men. Nismo will be the one doing the honors.
That's tough, because now you're back to save. Well, some purchase can come through here, actually. But likely the majority of this is going to be a save. And now you have to start thinking about Disguise. Like, this is going to be a huge mental conditioning into your next full buy round. Like, okay, we can't actually make an execute happen until we know we're not going to get aggressively picked.
And the thing is, you've got to know Koala Noob's going to do that sort of thing. You just don't know when
sure.
it's going to happen. So you just need to always be prepared because he is such an X factor. That's what the guard did so well. They contained Koala Noob. They didn't let him have
Correct,
those types of plays. And that's easier said than done, but that's kind of one of the keys to victory is to not let Koala be able to abuse you like that within the first 10 seconds of a round.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, just speaking under the history of these two teams on this map, especially from the side of M80, their defense against the guard was great. It was their offense that was completely empty, didn't find a single round. So, again, I think if you're disguised, looking at all the utility in your face, plus Koala Noob being Koala Noob, if you could find a way to go 4 here in this half, I think you're still going to be pretty pleased with that, considering that defensively, you should be in a much stronger position. Koala Noob does see the cross here, though. Not going to be able to get first blood, and he's feeling a little shaky on it, so we'll back up.
Yeah, it's just taking a lot, though, for Disguise to grab this space back, which is literally just the top of B main, not even actually hitting it. And again, this is around they have limited firepower and utility, so it's understandable. They're trying to be a little bit more cautious. They have to battle up against a couple of Astra Stars here right at the doorway. Guns trained right on them. John Cutie ready to pop when he's needed.
Can I use that?
Odds of Divide will allow an opportunity. Xander just peeks right through it, using his own gravity well. You also have the Haunt that's there. Oh, again, you would be hard-pressed, again, just based on the weaponry to assume that Disguise was going to be able to do too much in this round, but I think you're hoping for more than that. Another Sheets flawless for M80 as they go up 5-2.
Bro, I want to rename this composition from M80. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's the kitchen sink lineup. Because they got everything, bro. They can
just
throw
throw everything.
I mean, they got Astra Stars, they got KO, they got Fade, they got Breach. I mean, the only thing they're missing is like Sova and not a duelist or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, just they can throw so much at you. It's so disruptive.
Oh, boy.
You like it?
I'm
the kitchen sink
50.
comp?
I'm 50-50 on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
You know? Sometimes they hit and sometimes they don't, you know?
That's true.
The kitchen sink comp, though, just has like a nice sound to it. Like
It does bounce nicely.
It's almost an alliteration.
Yeah.
Kitchen sink comp.
You just had to think it through there. Just
I mean, not the same letters with the sounds, you know?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I don't know if the alliteration has to be literally the same letter or not.
I think
actually
technically
forget.
it's supposed to.
I think
but
you're right. Whatever.
I'm a no languageologist.
I'm not out here to make the final calls. I'm just out here to throw out options, you know?
That's
And the
fine.
community can run with it or they cannot. You know, it's up to them.
I'm still on for the Dust Team Ace sponsorship. I still want that to be a thing.
That's the worst buy in the world, bro. Like, you're not ever guaranteed one of those to happen.
Oh, it's too funny.
The Dusty Disc Team Ace.
I'm here for it.
I'm not, because I don't have enough money.
You don't know what it sells for. It might be real cheap.
True, that could be. Because you might get like maybe one a day, so you might get a good value on it. I don't know. I think Sheets did a pretty good job going for what they went for. You know, definitely. Yeah, they made the right call.
Yep. So into another full buy here for Disguised. And yeah, patience early. Just don't get picked by Koala Noob, I'm sure, were the comms for these first 30 seconds. Flash on the corner. Puts a little bit of pressure on towards Tree. Xander responds saying, I see you. Clear already through mid-map.
I'm loving
again,
this.
Another play where there's no alarm bot. So Clear has this for free.
Exactly. That's exactly what Disguise knows that they can abuse. And again, they're known for this slow, methodical build-up type of just map control style of play. And they have good control of middle. They've threatened A lobby. They're still keeping tabs on B. So they have all their options open. And now it's just about, you know, making that initial poke, seeing how it goes, and then react accordingly. You either follow through or you bounce back with the control you have at middle, whether or not this tree aggression works out or not.
Well, the mark does come through on a gangster. That's through the nebula. That's actually pretty key. So the spike will wrap in towards mid. Null command is out. Clear. Hoping to burst through the doors. And oh, the fault line play is so good from John. Once again, it completely stifles the entire hit from Disguised. John will back in towards site. EU in a little bit of trouble here at the defensive side spawn, but avoids the nano and the shock dart. Rolling Thunder's now out. John's trying to spam through the boxes. Time's becoming a bit of an issue here. 10 seconds to go. Disguise still don't even have the spike on towards site at the moment. Still waiting for the lockdown to come through. EU's holding on the cross. Spike should come down successfully, but Disguised are left with just the last three members. Nightfall is out, and M80 want to go quick. Knife is here. Retake on the way. Fragment also clearing things out. Cloud burst over the top. Nismo follows up. Gangsta gets one, trying to hold on from the back. He actually takes down a second. EU is being suppressed by Ziff in the corner, but just as he gives up the angle, the swing comes through. Ziff, the 1v1. Oh, he's off to the classic. It's pistol on Shorty, and EU gets 3 in the round for the retake.
Oh my goodness, that was actually down to the wire, my man. I didn't know which way it was gonna go. Didn't know if we were going to get an M. Night Shyamalan plot twist or whether it was going to go the way we thought. I mean, M80 defended that initial market pressure so well. Riku got caught in absolute no man's land right here, dude. I mean, that guy just got nothing. Nightfall comes out. You're thinking, all right, this is a nice build for M80. But they held him off so long in backhauls, man. It took forever for M80 to be able to actually get EU out into space to help them retake the site. But then he picks the perfect timing to do it, and then he gets the blind side on Gangsta. Oh, man. It took a while, but it all came together for him.
Man, what a round. And another one that's going to come up a bit heartbreak here as M80 once more just set play aggression towards A-Long. Gangsta responds with a very early Hunter Fury, though, so that's going to lead us to a 3v3. And this time, there's no defense over at B.
Nope.
So Riku's going to get the call here saying, no one's challenging me at main. Let's try to hit this.
That was a big Hunter's Fury from Gangsta. So good to be able to retaliate on Nismo after the initial 2-for-1 trade. Because M80, that's what they've been building advantages on, is they keep winning those little early exchanges and getting an advantage out of it. And that's what kind of gives them a little bit of flexibility. But now they don't have that. They're going to have to just play retake on B yet again. Disguise will eventually find this. They're going to spend some utility to do it, but they will soon enough find that this is wide open for the taking. And all the while, M80 are just having to wait and gamble. They have no presence anywhere else on the map, so they couldn't really move freely here.
Look at the respect here from Disguised. Nanostorm in the corner, Recon Bolt deep. That will be enough information for M80 to start to transition their defense over towards B. They're going to have to play retake again, though.
30 seconds
And as
left.
Clear lives up to his namesake, wipes out any potential threat through backside archway. Spike will be planted in the corner. Prowler's not going to see too much, but it does give a little bit of clarity. Haunt over the top. That will be deleted very quickly.
Hurt both
Second
guns.
Prowler out. Now it's just down to how do you get in through Gangsta in that same tricky position, and a double stack here at hallway. Flash out. Koala still needs to clear space. They don't know what's over towards mid-market at the moment. And they're not even going to guess towards this back alleyway. This is going to be an advantage here for Disguise on this cross. And yeah, Riku tees up. EU last one left, nothing there. Solid read by DSG.
Yeah, that's just a tough one because on that retake, M80, their Haunt heard 2 guns, but they never found out the third. And so they never know, is that third market? Is that third main? Is that third on site with the other 2 that we heard kill the Haunt? They just were working with incomplete information. Disguise did such a great job just kind of avoiding that utility, holding their ground, playing the crossfire setups, and closing one out. So brilliantly done. Again, credit to Gangsta. Big Hunter's Fury to give them that opportunity in the first place of a 3-on-3 mid-round situation. And now, once again, Disguise will get back to just playing that methodical map control style. Just kind of keeping cues on everything.
This time, Disguise not even going to bother looking over towards A-Long. M80 are forward. Maybe looking for more. Koala Noob up mid. Looking for a peek, not going to get it. Knife out.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty from M80. Great aggression, one-way smoke, getting them forward with it, and then they just run a guy down with the fault line.
Oh, Fragment pushes Koala Noob off the angle, but EU's in the corner at Boathouse. Nobody clears out the switch. And that kill is a huge difference maker in not just the numbers, but also the setup around this B site. Ziff is hoping for a plant, but Prowler's going to scout out clear. Second one will come through. And then the Cosmic Divide will block off the archway. But Gangsta, long lurk through mid. This timing is actually really solid as the spike is down. Clear's also going to make sure that he gets the read, that everyone's going over through the sidewalk. Ziff gets 1. So now down to a 3v2. And that spike is planted on the backside, so you can maybe even spam it. Shock dart out. EU shuts down Gangsta. Nismo's just going to stick this behind the cover of the Cosmic Divide. And even though Clear, that's impressive, but ultimately does not matter. 7-3 M80.
Yeah, just a good play from M80 to, be able to get that initial kill on Steel at A, just run him down with their utility and that aggression. Again, what they're well known for. Also, EU just not being spotted gets them kind of another one there. And I liked how, as soon as they felt the flank, how decisive they were just to push Firewalk together as a unit. Just kind of understanding where the vulnerability is and just playing like against it. Just being, okay, we just got to force it now. And that's what's so good about M80, how decisive they can be and how fearless they can be to just go out there and trade together.
Yeah. So now a broken buy situation around 11 for Disguised. Knives are out, so you're going to put a little bit of reinforcement into Riku with a Guardian, Gangsta with a Bulldog, and Steel on a Vandal. You also have the null command from Ziff, and that may be the trigger call on hitting this. Walanoob avoids the first flash, but misses this first shot. Fragment keeps him out of the picture early, and that's going to immediately allow the spike to get on for a plant.
Yeah, Quality was kind of spoiled for choice on that one there, just seeing all too much and couldn't pick a single target, so no opening pick found. It's going to have to be the 5-on-5 retake. Steel, though, gets caught out in middle trying to cut off rotations, which now gives the advantage over to M80. Ziff pops the ult, Bladestorm still up for clear, so they're trying to hold firm on the site, but M80 now start to close in with their own null command.
Yeah, clear getting taken out. Oh, man. How much of a difference maker is that one single 1v1 with Steel over towards hallway? M80 with numbers, Ziff doing what he can, and it's impressive to say the least, but in a 1v5, there's only so much hope and only so many shots with the Sheriff he was able to use. So Nismo will secure the defuse, and M80 will get to their 8th, but like we mentioned, if Disguise can get 4, that would not be terrible news.
Yeah, it's just tough because Disguised, I feel like, again, are playing the map control pretty well in the early round. Like, they've gotten away from getting picked immediately in a couple of situations. They've been able to start, you know, getting some control of market. Right there, you saw them turn another page on the playbook with just, like, nice set piece on B. So they clearly have, you know, good strategy. They clearly have, like, good communication, how they're, you know, orchestrating these plays. The one thing that they're running into, though, is they're just not there when it comes to the trading efficiency. That, and they just keep getting caught. Like, one guy just kind of keeps getting caught in that late round moment, which tips the advantage back over to M80 right when they need it the most.
Wow, look at this play. Flash, Nightfall, Koala Noob trying to get in, but Riku denies. Aftershock will push Riku out into the open, and EU will secure the trade, plus maybe more. Clear wants to try to test this. Cosmic Divide is already out for the offense, but the spike is down. So it's a bit of a puzzling call, and now M80 are going to just kind of hold and surround. Mid-map, though, Ziff opens up a doorway through the side, and there may be an opportunity here for Disguise to just win this off of kills without even needing to get the spike.
Yeah, M80 are kind of forced now to just keep playing this out aggressively, but EU's making it work somehow despite 18 HP. John Cutie with reinforcing fire from the back line, and Xander keeping tabs on middle, wins out against Ziff. And just when you thought things were going wrong, M80 reels it back in with just brute force.
Man, dude, it's just so many things that you could maybe even chalk to just bad luck if you're Disguised.
That's fair.
So many shots through smokes. Gangsta is completely, I mean, he's got no chance of getting out of here, surely.
So much utility. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, not only are you going to man disadvantage, but just, again, the kitchen sink's coming at you. Like, where do you
You're
go?
really sticking with this.
I'm trying, man. I'm really trying to bank on it, man. I dig it.
Ouch.
One enemy remaining. Clutch. 30 seconds.
I mean, we talked about how we felt Disguise were a better team than when they played against each other last time. They didn't get to really show their true selves. You know, the fact that they only got a combined 5 rounds, yeah, statistically that looks really bad, but it's not the full picture. And we even kind of thought the same thing on Haven. Like, even though it was a pretty one-sided scoreline on paper, Disguise gave themselves a lot of chances and, again, played some very savvy Valorant. This time around, you know, it's kind of a similar story, I feel like, in a lot of ways. It's just, in some of those critical mid to late round battles, they just got out-brawled. I mean, sometimes it is just down to that.
Agreed. 2 shots heard on the recon bolt. Clear's going to know he's got some players in front of him, and Quality gets a right click off. I mean, just how unlucky does it get? I was about to sit here and say, with Disguised on the defense and M80 not finding a single offensive round against the guard, this would be one of those Reddit clickbait-worthy 9-3 scoreboards, but we'll see.
But you forget Koala's #1 in first kills per round by a good margin.
Yeah.
And he showed it right there. Steel, though, props to him. Knows that he has to kind of make a play to try to bring it back into reality of a win, and he's able to get his man. Riku, though, now getting boxed in here, going to be in a lot of trouble.
Nice. Good Good first shot onto Kualanu, but Xander just taps the frenzy for another. Oh boy, just another one of those rounds it feels like. Ziff does at least secure one trade plus damage with the fragment. This is still winnable for him as he gets a ghost in his
100%.
hand.
Spike planted.
So he'll break the glass. Spike is down, tries to catch John on the exit, and just catches his left shoe buckle. I don't know if Breach wears boots like that. Hard to say. Flash comes out, and that's enough for Xander just to run and gun with the frenzy. Pistol won by M80.
That was really close. Just when it comes down to pure health banks. I mean, there was definitely a moment there where a John Cutie doesn't get away and it becomes a 1v1 with Spike down. There's a chance for DSG. But to M80's credit, they played that 2v1 about as well as you could considering they were low health. Like just swinging together, giving them too much to look at once, and just making sure they traded. So now they're up 10-3. Nearing map and series point. DSG not looking to gamble this time around on a force buy.
It's just, again, from the defensive side, you have to put together a clean buy somewhere if you're going to make this happen. So I agree with the call. Maybe Riku can get away with the shorty kill.
Bro, that's what he's hoping for. He's determined. He's on that archway. He's not moving. That's all you can do. You got to gamble on a round like this. They just leave Gangsta back halls B just to kind of see if anything does come that direction. They do have clear watching for a push into defensive spawn through middle, but they're banking on this A stack hopefully panning out, but unfortunately they've guessed wrong.
Gangsta's only got a classic on this long angle.
Riku still has a chance.
Yeah, I'll
There's
say.
still
I mean,
hope.
this most sniffing at this, pixel by pixel, is making his way forward. And then Riku just tries to pull a little bit of an idea. And now Classic's at long range. You don't feel good about that. The fragment's going to make life very hard. Although
I like that peek though from Ziff.
Yeah, me too.
That was really well coordinated.
SMG picked up, but Spike is down. And EU is going to take over the defensive halls. And, well, I don't know how you even get a chance to get this Spectre a chance here.
Now they're going to just overwhelm with numbers. This is what M80 does so well. Like, once they get that space, they just overwhelm it with numbers to where as soon as you try to check back for a trade, there's 3 people staring at you.
Well, Steel, not much you can do here. 11-3 the count, and now DSG are on to what very well may be one of their final purchases. Have to have it. You lose this one, you're back down to a save, or at least a force buy. So must win round here. Has to have it.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, I guess it is kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Considering the score lines and everything else. That's some creepy looking gelato, actually.
Dude, I was going to say, that is the
That's
ice cream
like
of nightmares.
marketing-wise, I'm not going to that stand.
No.
I'm looking for another one for sure.
One where the ice cream smiles, not haunts my dreams.
Thank you.
M80 looking to get aggressive here at A-Long. Trades still somehow favor them, even with the gravity well in play, and just full reveal afterwards. I will say the M80 utility that was pretty absent on this map versus the guard has hit in a major way here in this first round of the face-off.
I mean, this and how they layer it so well. There's just never a gap without something being thrown at you. Straight from Fragment to Aftershock to Flash on this Heaven rotation here from DSG. They just cannot get space.
Riku trying for it. And I will say here as we get into 12-3 scoreboard, Riku, for a player that when we had a chance to kind of talk about him being brought in, we were like, what? Who? He's played well since he's been brought onto this squad.
I mean, the situation he's been thrown in,
Exactly.
I think, yeah, you can't really have expected more. I think it's been more tough on Ziff than him, you know, just trying to get to this new role of initiator. And, you know, he was, statistically speaking, their second best player after Exalt, the one who departed. So, yeah, it's been a tough ask for him, but he's had a pretty good game here so far. Definitely an improvement upon last map, but it's kind of tough to read into that too much when you're looking at the overall scoreboard for the teams. And 9 chances for M80 closest in regulations. That's a lot of chances.
It's not a few amount of chances. Say that much.
Well, a few is technically at least 3, so it's three fews.
It's a few cubed?
Yes.
Squared, rather, not cubed.
Yes. I don't know enough about math, so I'm just so confident in you as my co-caster that I'll ride or die with you, whatever it is.
That's dude, get you
Remember
somebody.
spam? The Hawaii.
Remember the spam conversation?
Yeah, remember that?
I remember that. And hey, we weren't wrong about that.
Exactly.
Clear, good first blood. Steel looking to follow up. Man, Steel has not won many gunfights today. Xander's able to punish not just him, but a second spike will be placed. And as the door is shut, not just on tree, similar one starts to fall, possibly on the fate of Disguised. Yep. Just down to one. And it's that aforementioned player of Riku. Guardian in. Good shot on Nismo. That was the full HP contestant now. So now you're just down to 5 health if you're Xander. And how about the shots from Riku? Well placed, well found. DSG stay alive.
Xander's like, you got to pick how you want to go. You want to go to the turret? You want to go down to Riku? His health was that low. But tip your hat to Riku. Hits a brilliant shot. And then wins out the turret. I do kind of wish M80 would have fell back a little bit there. I don't think you want to be challenging Riku in heaven when he has that low of HP. So that's kind of one of the few mistakes M80 have made, I would say. But again, you got to tip your hat to Riku. That was a heads-up individual play to keep his team alive.
Absolutely. But the road doesn't become much easier here in round 17. Ultimates have now been earned by M80 and another full buy for them. Plus still pockets deep to likely full buy another round after this. Unless it's a very clean win here from Disguised.
Riku does have lockdown now, though, so that does get them another tool for retakes. On top of all the utility it has to hold firm on B site. So that is one silver lining for DSG, despite M80 having the overall ult advantage here.
Yeah. The defense for Disguise is going to trust the alarm bot mid. 3-2 split. Ziff an initial flash over through tree. That keeps M80 a little bit at bay, and there's not a lot of information here for M80 to work off of as far as the commitment is concerned, except for trying to maybe isolate Ziff, who they know where he's at.
Yeah, they kind of flashed a clear close cat, but they haven't really gotten anything else. Alarm bot's still here at middle as well. That's never been cleared off. So, I mean, DSG know that hasn't been taken just yet. M80 starting to approach it now while Nismo tries to put some pressure over at tree. Misses the knife he was looking for, but it still gets in here, still fragments to cross, and is definitely still threatening the look of an A-split. But Ziff with that flash will battle it back, and the lockdown will be used to fortify the opposing site. They've read this like a book.
Sure did. Gangsta gets the first blood as well. Quality not allowed an entryway, but Gangsta is stuck in. The follow-up on Riku is good. So the defenders on B are cleared out. Comes at a bit of a cost, though. M80 will get the spike planted, and you still have Nismo on a super long flank, which I will say, if you're Disguised, you cannot lose tabs of this. And they've lost tabs of it. Clear gets picked in the corner. Now Steel has to hold his ground. How does Nismo get that? And then the final one comes across his screen as well. Oh, not like that. M80 will take the series 2-0 and off the scoreboard relatively cleanly, but I will say that map way more impressive towards M80's regard in terms of their capabilities.
Yeah, it's just the layering of utility. It's just the timing, the spacing, the trading efficiency. Throwing a little bit of quality of X Factor action here and there for opening picks. It's just such a powerful composition to just constantly have something in your opponent's face that they have to worry about.
Yeah.
Making it very unsettling to try to move across the map or move into a retake. And M80 were just, I mean, they were just efficient as ever. Again, the only real mistake I can even remember is just that 1-2v1 against Riku.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of that, I felt like they played a really solid game throughout, showed a lot of discipline in key moments, and man, they are a force to be reckoned with in this region.
And I think this iteration of M80 on this map, I think was what we initially expected to see versus the Guard. And we never really had it, right? Because I think the Guard were just saying, you use whatever utility that you want to. We trust our setups, we trust our trades, and then we'll just counter with utility of our own, even though we may not have as much of it that you guys do when it comes to zone of control. So there was, I think, a little bit of cleanliness that came here with M80 to kind of polish that layering that you're talking about to where it was a little bit more effective. It kind of pushed around the defense a little bit more when they're on the offensive side. And then, of course, defensively, it was just hard for Disguise to get in towards the site. So a 2-0 overall for the first match and matchup here between these two squads in face-off. Not as comfortable as maybe the group stage matchup was for these two teams, but still pretty darn convincing. We'll have the desk to break things down on the backside of the break. And of course, we still have TSM and the Moist Moguls to come. Don't go far. More VCL face-off after this.
Yo, check it out. Want to know if the price of those Wave Runners is too good to be true? Or if I Wear My Kicks 49 is truly selling dead stocks? Or if that Jordan 1 Royal Box is original? eBay checks. See that little blue check mark? Behind it is a team of independent authenticators who check. And we mean everything. Every tongue, check. Every toe box, check. Every corner of every box, check, 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 check. Every logo, every label, every lace loop. Yeah, it's checked. The luster of the leather, the topography on the tags, to the straightness of the stitching on the sole. Everything you can see, and even some things you can't.
Really?
Then they tag them, log them in the system, box them up, and ship them out, with no cost for the buyer or seller. eBay checks, so the moment you open that box is as real gets.
And welcome back to the Knights Arena Valorant Challengers mid-season face-off desk here for the North America region, as we see M80 kick things off with a unsurprising 2-0. I think a lot of people came into today and were like hopeful that we would see DSG find something within them to at least make this a 3-map series, but we have to be realistic. This is an incredible team. M80 is a team that many people say could easily compete at a tier 1 level with the teams that are playing in VCT Americas, and their performance here, Roy, it pretty much says that same story.
I like to nickname M80 as mighty because they really are a mighty opponent, right? They're incredibly strong. Their execution is wild. Their mid-rounding is really good. It seems like they're always on the same page. There's never any moments of hesitation. Like maybe we saw a little bit of that on the first map in the first couple rounds, but it's like snap of a finger, gone now. They just look like a whole new team. Their late rounds are insane. Their retakes are super well structured. Their post plans are really good. They always have ideas. There's always something flowing between them, and you can see that, right? And on the other side, it really doesn't feel like DSG is playing bad. They're not like making terrible decisions. They're not really like getting out called. Like they have the right reads, they have the right structure, they have the right ideas, but they're just getting outgunned and they're just getting out utiled by M80's playstyle and by their comp.
I think one of the things that makes M80 so difficult to play against is just how well they work together. There were times where DSG had a good idea, but it seemed like it was clunky. Like things just weren't where they needed to be. Maybe their spacing was a little bit off. Maybe their communication was a little bit off. And as a result, it doesn't quite go the way you would expect it to. That's not a problem that M80 is going to have. This team is drilled. They have been playing together for a long time, and it shows. And you can see it just looking at individual performance. You see it on the scoreboard as well. I mean, this was a dominant showing from M80 yet again.
It was. You can tell that M80 has all of their setups down and everything that they need. And like Roy was saying, it's not necessarily that DSG didn't have what they needed to succeed. They just weren't getting the picks. And looking at the stats here, although Koala didn't have the best game, really, because his teammates were doing a lot of the work compared to the first map, I want to highlight the trappers, I'm calling them. So that's Xander, Nismo, and John Cutie. They were absolutely denying the A-main control and just DSG was just running into their traps, and I feel like that was really hard for them to counter. DSG found most success over at the B side, but again, their retakes, they just flooded and overwhelmed them, and like we were saying, they just weren't getting the picks that they needed to succeed.
One of the few teams not running a Sentinel playing on Ascent. We were talking about it while watching the game. M80 plays a triple initiator look, no Sentinel coming into the fold. Only one other team did that during Challengers thus far, and that was Shopify Rebellion. And there's a part of me that wants to believe that that was copycatting. It was like, okay, this worked for M80. Let's see what we can do, because they haven't run it since. They only did it one time. They didn't run it in the weeks leading up, and they haven't run it in the games since then that have played on Ascent. So it did sort of feel like, hey, let's see how this composition works. Maybe they got beat up by that composition. if it was M80 playing it, that's very likely what happened, as that's just kind of been M80's MO throughout the group stage. The only team that has given them grief has been the Guard, and it's a team they're not going to have to face until a upper final should they get that far for both sides. But we are going to go ahead and throw things to the post-series highlights. When we come back, we'll be jumping into the post-match interview and then match 2, excuse me. We'll be back in just a bit.
One enemy remains. One enemy remains. One enemy remains. Finished. Left. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. Clutch. 30 seconds left. One enemy. One enemy remaining. Sleep. One enemy remaining. Nice. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. Attacker.
And welcome back to the Knights Arena Valorant Challengers North America Mid-Season Face-Off, or CAVICNMS for short. You guys can abbreviate if you want. I feel like it is going to catch on. It's going to save me a ton of time. But it is M80 who find the win to kick things off here in the playoff bracket, and it doesn't really surprise many just based on the runs we've seen from them through the group stages. This team is exceptionally good, and it means we're going to be bringing in one of the players from M80 for the post-match interview. We're speaking specifically of Nismo, a player we haven't actually really gotten to speak to too much throughout the group stages. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, Buck.
Map 1 was a bit of a bumpy start for you guys. And by bumpy, I mean comparatively to some of the other matches, you saw DSG get out on a little bit of a run early, finding 3 straight rounds. What was it in those few rounds that was going wrong, and how did you guys course correct?
I mean, obviously it's going to happen that you're going to lose some rounds. I think it's just a question of just adapting as fast as possible, and that's what we did. And that's why we just kept on going. We kept on winning. It's going to happen. You're going to lose some rounds, especially including the bonus. And we kept composure. We adapted, and we looked good.
Looking at map 2, you guys are actually one of the few teams that has played a triple initiator composition on Ascent, with only one other team doing it throughout the entirety of the group stage, being Shopify Rebellion, and they only did it once. What is it about that comp that you guys like, and why does it work so well for you?
I mean, I think it's a different type of comp. I think it brings a different type of gameplay that people are not used to. And I think we pretty much like it. We're sticking to it. And it's something that we just trust in. And, you know, even though we lost versus the Guard, we adapted. We fixed some stuff that we could think it could help. And it worked out at the end, so we're good with the comp.
You mentioned your rematch with the Guard. Your bracket run could include all rematches up until the upper bracket final. If TSM wins today, you'll be facing off against them in the next round. If Guard can win their next 2 matches, you'll be facing off against them in the upper bracket final. Do you feel like that helps you because you know what to expect from these teams, or do you feel like it hurts you because Group B was so incredibly strong throughout the group stages?
Well, I think both groups were good, to be honest with you. Whether we played G2 or we played TSM or the Guard. I mean, any opponents that's in front of us, we just have to play them and show them that we're the best team. Yeah, again, I can't really say it's going to help us or it's going to not really help us. At the end of the day, you have to beat everyone to win, so we're just ready to play whoever comes up in front of us, and we're a strong opponent, that's for sure.
That's fair. Now, on a personal level, you're a player who's at a different season in their life compared to some of the other players who play through challengers, like these 17-year-olds who basically got nothing going on. How do you balance real-life responsibility with also your in-game responsibility?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to have, well, for me, for my case, my partner is really my girlfriend, I could say. She's understanding with the situation. She knows I need to put a lot of work. So it's more for me to balance in between practices, my grind, custom server. It just like comes a state where you have to play just a bit less, but you still have to put a lot of hours into it. And that's what I do right now. I scrim a lot. I do a lot of off server, a lot of VOD review also. So you have to grind, you know, even if you have to balance life, at the end of the day, you have to play a lot. So I'm trying to balance both, spend time with family. I think it's really important to be off like the server a bit. And yeah, I've been doing a good job at that.
Well, I mean, it's clearly not really impacting your performance to try to spend some time away from the game, so I commend you for your ability to balance both. This last question does come from the fan zone. If you guys at home are wondering about that, you can learn more at pks.gg/fanzone. This one's from our own Ravishing Ravish. He asks, what makes your shawarma so goated?
I mean, it's the recipe, man. You know, it's the hard work that we put into the shawarma. You know, it's a family business at the end of the day. We work hard, and shawarma is amazing. It's also a chain that's known. So, yeah, it's all with love, man. It's made with love.
Congratulations on both your shawarma and your victory as you guys pick up your first win here in the bracket play, and you will be moving on further in the tournament.
Thank you, Bach. I appreciate it.
All right, well, we do have one more match for you guys today. This one should be a banger. It's going to be TSM versus the Moist Moguls. We're going to throw things to a break. When we come back, we'll be the desk breaking things down. Stay tuned.
With eBay Refurbished, you have a choice of refurbished qualities to best fit your budget. Certified refurbished items are restored by the manufacturer to like new for up to 50% off. This drill was barely out of the box. Soon it will be back to working like new. Here's how it works. Every item is carefully inspected. Any imperfections are fixed by the manufacturer or manufacturer-approved vendor. Then it's tested to make sure it's working perfectly. Once it passes inspection, it's given the verified stamp of approval. Then repackaged with new accessories and shipped to its ultimate destination. With Certified Refurbished, you can shop with confidence because all our manufacturers go through a rigorous vetting process. And every purchase comes with an award-winning 2-year warranty, a money-back guarantee, and hassle-free returns. That's what makes it the smarter way to shop for premium brands. eBay Refurbished. Like new products, better than new prices.